Hello and welcome to the North Bank Podcast. I'm your host, Holly, and I'm joined as ever by Stef and Chris. Look away end, Stef. Come on. How are you doing, boys?
Oh, le away end.
Bonjour.
Yeah.
Ça va?
Bonsoir. Bonsoir.
You do realise we're playing at home next week, though?
Against...
Yeah, but I'm not going to the away game this time, so I'm trying to just feel the vibes.
Okay, good.
Le home end, Stef.
Yeah.
Lom.
Love. Okay, we've started recording. Sorry, everybody, for having to bear witness to the last minute. Right, okay, so there is a little matter of a Champions League semi-final to look forward to, and we will absolutely look forward to it. We have to start, though, with a little look back at the Palace game, which for me was a complete irrelevance. I could not care less about the game itself, what happened. That's all. I know you can bang on about, and Chris, you've long lamented the number of draws we've had this season. I don't think this game counts in that in that kind of list of drop points. I think you can bang on about maybe building momentum ahead of the PSG game. I couldn't care less about that because human nature. There's no way any of those players could possibly have played that game without subconsciously, at best, thinking about the magnitude of the game to come against PSG the following Tuesday. Yeah. And so all performances can be viewed through that prism, I think. That's my view. What about you guys?
Well, in terms of the draws, I think all draws are equal, but some draws are more equal than others. So the draws earlier on in the season, you know, those are the ones we should look at and scrutinise and analyse when it comes to a title race. These three, Everton, Brentford, and now Crystal Palace, you almost have to say that the wider context, the Champions League and the timing of that, even with Palace themselves and the FA Cup semi-final that they're playing in this weekend, Arsenal would have approached those games very differently. And like you say, might even just be subconsciously, were we much closer to Liverpool and, you know, it was much tighter in that title race. And I'd like to think that the outcomes of at least one of them, maybe two of them, hopefully all three of them, would have been different. So,
well, Arteta actually picked his teams with the Madrid game and the PSG game in mind.
There you go.
In those
exactly.
fixtures.
We're fighting for a title, and you know Saka's starting every one of those games. You know if he's fit enough, and so's Martinelli. So the team rotation was clearly with the Champions League games in mind, because we knew it was probably the West Ham game that kind of sealed it really, in terms of any kind of potential title charge against Liverpool. So I'm with you.
It was dropping 2 points at home to Fulham last season that cost us the title this season. I can't let that one go.
No. Well, there's plenty of things we can sort of look at. Not buying a striker 3 years ago might be another thing. So yeah, absolutely, everything's got to be viewed through that. I really only watched the Palace game with just get through, get fit, no more injuries, you know, to any more sort of key players in our team. And as disappointing as some of the performances were in isolation, I can't see it having a bearing too much, hopefully, on PSG, because we had a disappointing draw away at Everton. We had a disappointing draw at home to Brentford. And around those games, we beat...
What happened after that?
We beat the European champions, Real Madrid, 5-1 on aggregate. So these players are able to up their game, approach the game slightly differently, depending on the context. And so it was what it was.
Even in a disappointing Premier League season, as it has turned out to be, we've turned up for the big games. It's the games against the lesser lights, like Manchester United, that we have struggled.
Noted.
I almost got through that without breaking into a broad.
Didn't
grin.
even take breath. You just steamed on. It was beautiful. I mean,
it was almost like it was planned. It wasn't. Chris,
Yeah.
How did you view the Palace game?
I mean, I just agree with everything you guys have said, and I'm glad that it's something that, because people were losing their absolute shit afterwards, and why has he done? Oh, he should have done this. That's it. We've blown it against PSG. You've got to compartmentalise it. There's no way, like you said, that the players are going to be as focused. You could tell just the off the ball work was just not there, and the intensity wasn't there. It's just, the context is everything in this. So let's just park it.
That said, do you think we're going to miss out on top 5?
Yeah, I don't think that's possible.
I think we need one more
point.
One more win. No, one more win but even then it's mathematically possible, but on goal difference. I mean, we need one win from our last 4 games, and so you'd think home to Bournemouth and away to Southampton might provide one of those. But the Bournemouth game is sandwiched in between the 2 PSG games. And I'm sorry, Ramsdale's in goal at Southampton, so I can already foresee a world-class XG of, or what do you call a goalkeeper's XG? I don't know. XGA?
X-save.
X-save, I don't know. And then we're home to Newcastle and away to Liverpool. So, but again, that's assuming all the other results go against us. I think second place is looking a bit fragile, but again, I've said much to your surprise, shock, horror, that I'm quite happy for us to finish not second, just to dispel that narrative of forever the bridesmaid.
And having had to endure very, very soon to be relegated Ipswich chanting second again, ole ole. I've especially during the Palace game, was posting on our socials some very sort of pithy, tongue-in-cheek stuff because I really didn't really care. Yeah, a few people didn't quite understand the sarcasm that I was putting forward. But I did sort of jokingly say, "Ha! To them chanting second again, ole ole. Joke's on you because we're going to finish third." You know, I mean, of course, I don't necessarily want to, but at the end of the day,
Listen, we wanted to win the league, so finishing second or third is completely irrelevant to me. I couldn't care which one it is. We haven't finished first. That's ultimately the disappointing that's thing. The kicker. Just something you said a few minutes ago, Steph, about beating the reigning champions Real Madrid home and away 5-1 on aggregate. Isn't it funny? Have you guys noticed? I've noticed that in the last 3 weeks, Real Madrid have gone from a world-class, top-level, amazing football team to being utter pants. Have you noticed that? Like, just in the kind of comments or commentary that people in my sphere, my day-to-day life keep letting me know, oh, that's the worst Real Madrid team. Man, that's not what you were saying 2 weeks ago. You were actually physically doubled over laughing at the prospects of us coming up against Real Madrid, and the prospects that we had was zero of getting anything from the game. We won home and away. Like, I mean, that's just brilliant. I'll keep coming back to that. Anyway, so a little disappointed, obviously, with the performance, perhaps, but again, not that bothered. I do want to flag up the performance of Kivior, though, simply because he's come into the team under an awful lot of pressure, not just the games he's had to play, i.e. Champions League quarter-final home and away against Real Madrid, which we won both legs of.
Keep mentioning that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But just replacing Gabriel, just like forget about the context of the game, just replacing our wall at the back, the king, Gabriel. He's obviously backed himself, and with good reason as well. But his first half stats were ridiculous against Crystal Palace. He had 100% pass accuracy, 53 accurate passes out of 53. He won 100% of his duels, 2 out of 2. He had 5 clearances, 2 blocks, 1 successful take on, 1 shot, and 1 goal. And what a header that was!
Yeah, not bad.
Not the own goal you pretended it was, Steph. Thanks for that.
It was a wonderful goal, and although I didn't watch it, a lot of the analysis, although it was kind of there for everyone to see, the corner routine, the blockers in place from that little train run that they do, and then stepping into the defensive line to allow Kivior to take up that space. He was so unmarked. He was so free. But he was so far away from the goal.
Yes,
it's a great ball to find him, but the direction he's put on that and the power, keeper didn't do anything wrong, but was never going to get to it. It was a fantastic goal. And I think it's one of those things, we're praising Kivior anyway for his performances, but that goal sort of sweetens it because one of us kind of half joked that he's done very well, but doesn't necessarily carry the goal threat that Gabriel does.
I'm taking credit for his goal, by the way.
Good. If you could slag off someone else in some other way before PSG.
He's always slagging Trossard off.
Trossard. I mean, Trossard has scored 3 goals in his last 2 games, but I don't think he's cleanly connected with any of them.
Is that
Trossard's next week,
thing?
You?
Is Trossard's thing scoring scruffy goals?
Never used to be.
No, I remember him.
I mean, they all count the same, don't they?
Well, exactly.
It wasn't long ago we were saying he was the best finisher at the club, quote unquote.
Right, okay.
Well, that was the kind of received wisdom of...
I'm not... I'll need to see video evidence of me ever saying that.
No, I'm not saying you did. I'm just saying generally, out in the Arsenal sphere, generally. And if we are to take anything positive out of the Palace game, it would be Kivior and Trossard scoring ahead of PSG. And yeah, we'll take the positives and we'll just forget the negatives, shall we?
and absolutely. Let's leave it there then. Let's leave the Palace game there. So, small matter of Champions League semi-final on Tuesday. Now it's our third Champions League semi-final. Do you remember the last 2? 2006. Villarreal. Do you remember the score at Highbury?
0-0.
1-1.
No, it was 0-0. Yeah. And do you remember the score away in their place?
1-0.
1-0. Yeah. Do you remember Riquelme missing a 90th minute penalty?
So that to me has a significant moment. So I was at university in Lincoln and was with my housemate, Kate, in what they called the library bar. It was a pub, watching the game. And she also clocked a few of her course mates that were there as well. Well, one of her course mates was a woman, a friend of mine called Holly. When Jens Lehmann saved Riquelme's penalty, we were kind of the only 2 in the bar that lost our minds at that moment. And since then, I mean, that was it. That was the first time I'd met Holly, and we've been friends forever since. She's now living in Australia, so is getting up at ridiculous times in order to watch the Arsenal games. And I know she follows the pod, but for those reasons, that lives long in the memory. Certainly more than the other semi-final.
Okay, well, before we get on to the other semi-final, who scored our goal in that game?
Was it Henry?
No.
Fabregas then?
No.
Not Flamini?
No.
Senderos?
Okay, you've got 2 of the back 4. It's one of the others.
Juru?
No, he didn't play.
Eboué?
You've missed the last one. Yeah, Toure, yes. Toure scored. And just as a note, because I was looking it up, we got to that Champions League final with a back 4 of Eboué, Toure, Senderos and Flamini at left back. They did have the wall in front of them, as in Gilberto Silva, but that's some back 4, and it was a record-breaking back 4, wasn't it? It was like we didn't concede a goal, like it was something ridiculous. And the other semi-final was in 2009.
Oh, I don't.
So they tell me. I don't remember
to me,
it.
that one.
I've not got anything written down about it. It's our third Champions League semi-final.
I just remember being in the ground, and it was like one of those party popper things that you go, and then it just...
It was instant, wasn't it? It was instant. Was it that they scored 2 goals in the first...
It was the free kick, Ronaldo free kick was the
And didn't
the first one.
Park score? I think Park scored. And he was just the destroyer. We were 1-0 down from the first game, weren't we? Probably Ronaldo. I mean, look, it was instant, and that's what makes me nervous about all these TIFO plans and so on. It's like, but I'm not nervous this time. Maybe I should be. I should be nervous.
Well,
I need to repeat everything that I felt before the Madrid game, so it happens this time as well.
What's remontada in French?
Le remontada.
Yeah. I thought so. Yeah.
Le comeback.
Yeah, look, come back.
Right,
You
Steph,
mentioned mentioned tifos, so there's been a bit of a Arsenal news story going on. So the Ashburton Army, very quickly after we secured progression against the reigning champions Real Madrid 5-1 on aggregate in the last round, they were very quick to start a GoFundMe campaign for a tifo for the upcoming PSG game at home. I was going to say, unfortunately, for some reason the club have kiboshed that and stopped it. One or two of the members of the Ashburton Army have since said that it's mainly a timeline issue, that the turnaround is so short.
No, we know the club are organising two of their own tifos.
But this is the thing. Also, because of, rather than theirs, they might have actually entertained it as well, but the club have said it's a bit of a short turnaround for yours, and we've also got our own things planned. So one is a banner that's going to go over the East Stand. I think it is. Is it the East Stand on that side where the away fans sort of are on there opposite the dugouts? So there'll be a banner that goes over there, over the crowd. And then in the North Bank end where we sit, they're going to have something like a giant sheet material or whatever it is come down from the roof to
like
the
Madrid
ground
did.
just in front of where the stands are. So no idea what the design is at the moment, but that's what the club have confirmed for it. So there is a tifo going on. There's one that creates less logistical work in terms of sorting out, people going around and putting all those bags on the chairs for the tifo at the last round. It does take a little bit of effort, obviously. So they've gone for something that's probably a little bit cleaner in terms of its organisation. It's a shame not to include the fan groups, and the Ashburton Army raised a lot of money very quickly.
Yeah, you've got to think that someone at the Ashburton Army would have spoken to someone at the club saying, this is what we're doing, is this okay?
Yeah.
Likewise, you would like to have thought that the club would have involved the supporter groups in the design for the tifo or the arrangements for that night. It seems like a very naive disconnect.
Well, it's such an easy win as well for the club,
exactly,
isn't it?
exactly. From both sides. I mean, I don't know exactly what communication or dialogue did take place, but at least there is going to be something to mark the occasion. Look, as we know, a Champions League semi-final does not come around often. This is our third one in a long history. It's our third one, so we need to mark the occasion with something a little bit different. And I'm glad the club are doing one that's never been done before, because I think it warrants that kind of acknowledgement. The other issue at the moment was something with the tickets, but I don't care about that because it's a bit negative. But what I did note, can you guys tell me the capacity of the Parc des Princes?
No, I don't know.
What do you think it is?
I mean, it must be 60, 70,000.
It's 48.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
That's why I was really shocked. That's why we're getting, because I looked at the ticket allocations. We've given them 2,500. They've only given us 2,000. I was like tapping angrily into Google. What is the capacity of the Parc des Princes? Oh, 48,000 and something.
Fair enough.
Do you know what? That made me feel a lot more confident.
Really?
Our stadium's bigger than yours.
No, not that. I mean, but
Did we get a trophy for that?
Yeah, a goal advantage.
But the players, it cannot be as hostile as the Bernabeu. So it's and the players coped with that like it was a walk in the park, So it won't be as intimidating. I'm sure they'll be loud and noisy, and there'll be what do you call those flares going off and drums and horns or whatever it is. I'm sure all of that will still be happening. But I'm sorry, 48,000 are not going to make more noise than the 80 odd. What is the capacity of the Bernabeu, by the way? Is it 80,000?
It's about 70, 80. We did look it up while we were out there, but it's something like that. And the key thing for that is, having now been there, I don't know if I told you, I've actually been to the Bernabeu now.
Have you?
What happened?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, we won 2-1 as well. It was
excellent.
Really good. It is so steep. They've gone obviously into the ground where they are, and it's sheer at the top of it as well. So, as a player, I'd love to know what it looks like from that vantage point where it's just a skyscraper going up next to you. They had the roof on, so you can't even see the sky. It must have been so, different to what they're used to anyway.
Well,
And
Lewis
then they go to
Skelly-
Portman Road, in the
Yeah.
game after.
Lewis Skelly said when he was walking out, 45 minutes, an hour before kickoff at the Bernabeu, he says, "Oh, you just look, you're thinking, oh, it's nothing like you see on telly." Like he was like, "Oh wow, this place is amazing," and then he said, which I loved, he said, and then you think to yourself, "Yeah, I just got to have some fun."
Brilliant.
Yeah, that's the attitude. That's like bring it on. I think it. Go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, because all the players do it. We see it, especially in Champions League games and FA Cup games. Players just do a little walkout around the pitch, like before. Like what they do? Are they like the mechanic who's like walking around the car, just like kicking the tyre, going? Yeah, I don't know.
There's a wet patch there, so I'd be doing it. I'd be doing it like when I used to play, and it would be like, yeah, there's a 6-inch deep puddle there. I'll avoid that.
Yeah. Or dog poo or something. Yeah. Yeah.
Such was the quality of my
Hackney
game
Marshes
at the time.
was not fun, I can assure you.
Okay. What was I going to say? I did the Parc de France capacity, which threw me completely. I'm more. This is wrong, and I shouldn't. I think we have played PSG this season already. Do you remember the score?
2-0.
We won 2-0.
Do you remember who scored?
Saka.
Wasn't it first half, both goals?
It was 2 first half goals. It was Saka and Havertz. Yeah. So what I did, I'd forgotten it completely. I thought we'd won 1-0, but 2-0. But I looked at the PSG team that played.
So different.
Yeah, I mean, there's that Georgian fella. Obviously, wasn't
Kvaradona,
Kvaradona,
as they've dubbed him. Oh, they dubbed him in Napoli. That.
And Dembele didn't play, or certainly didn't start.
He'd had a row with the boss, hadn't he?
That's right. Yeah, and he's gone on this ridiculous scoring streak
Since New Year.
Since the turn of the year. They played. Who did they play, Steph? You told me they played someone at the weekend and they won 1-0.
Well, so do you want an update on their form at the minute?
Yeah.
Because they have because of cup competitions in France, and they do actually move games around for the Champions League. The French FA, even the German FA, are pretty good at doing that. So I think it was Monday or Tuesday this week, they played a catch-up game against Nantes. Nantes are 14th. And PSG put out a pretty strong side. There might have been one or two slight changes. And PSG drew 1-1, which is not a great point. In context, I would have thought, I looked at it and went, oh, well, they're treating it a bit like the Palace game. But then when I looked into it a bit more, heard a couple of things on various programmes, PSG are going for an invincible season. They've never done it. Even with all their billions and Arab money that they've had in this modern iteration of the club, they've won by a canter loads of times, but they've never gone a whole season unbeaten, and they're on track to do it. And so a draw might look a bit flat and blah blah blah, but at the same time,
they've won the league. They're already champions.
They're already champions. This is the thing, but they do want that invincible tag as well. And of course they'll be thinking about the Champions League. Well, tonight, as we record on Friday evening at 7:45, they kicked off against Nice at home in the 48,000 seater.
Sorry,
very good. 48,000 seater Parc des Princes. Now Nice are nice. They're fifth. And obviously going for those top European places. So they've got plenty to play for. They're going to be a much tougher opposition than Nantes are. Would you like to know the current score, being that they're on 86 minutes?
First, have they started a strong team?
I'd argue that it's their strongest team.
Okay, I'm hoping it's not 8-0 to PSG, and I'm hoping it's...
PSG are losing 3-1. With 4 minutes to go. Now, it's interesting, isn't it? Because psychologically, they are going for an invincible season domestically, and this could be their first defeat of the season, the game before they play a Champions League semi-final. You can look at it both ways. It could absolutely burst a bit of a bubble for them and make them feel less invincible than they have done, especially since the turn of the new year. Or it could rile them up and go, right, well, okay, that's gone. We're already champions anyway. Now it's about refocusing for that Champions League semi-final. But
I'm
more
most,
questions will be asked.
Yeah, I'm most pleased that they've conceded 3.
Well, this is the thing. I've been following the game even before we were coming on. PSG have had so many chances. So there's 2 things going on there. One, they create a high volume of chances, but aren't necessarily maybe the most accurate in finishes. You have to say that I watched the Liverpool games where they put Liverpool out
that's right.
in
They
the round
lost
of
that
16.
game, didn't
They had loads of chances and didn't take them, and then Liverpool sucker punched them in the away game, only to then draw. It went to penalties, didn't it, in the second one? So they have high possession. They try and turn over the ball high. They create a lot of chances, but seemingly can't necessarily take them, and also they clearly are vulnerable as well. I heard Julien Laurens, who guested, he's a French football writer, brilliant journalist, and PSG fan as well. He doesn't hide it. He was on the Arsenal Vision podcast, and he was saying defending set pieces, really not PSG's thing, especially not Donnarumma's thing, their goalkeeper. Now, if only we put a little bit of focus and attention on our set pieces, maybe Arteta will think about that this weekend.
Set piece FC.
The problem is, the more I talk about this and think, okay, well, they might lose this evening, they're vulnerable at set pieces, it makes me feel worse. I don't know why. What is wrong with me? What is wrong with my psychology? It makes me feel worse. I should be given confidence by that, but I'm a damaged person.
No, I think that's fair. I think that's understandable. Not that you're damaged, but that's your mindset. I think everybody listening of an Arsenal persuasion will share in that sense.
Because it's so important.
I mean, I keep catching myself because I am feeling a little bit more confident about this game than I was before the Madrid game, but that's probably because of what happened in the Madrid game.
It's because of who Real Madrid are as well.
Yeah, and the fact that I always said that, Real Madrid beat teams in the tunnel because of who they are, the aura of Real Madrid. Before a ball has been kicked, we utterly controlled both games, 180 minutes plus. We were dominant, and Arteta. He's far from perfect, of course, but boy, do I trust him to set us up against a big team. This is the stage. Look, winning the FA Cup in his first season, that was the blueprint for him setting us up for these big games. Was it City and Chelsea we played and beat one in the semi-final and final? It's and we were ridiculous underdogs in both of those games. I mean, we were a pretty rubbish team at that time. We had obviously Aubameyang to bail us out in attack. So I've got confidence that we're not going to play the occasion, that we're not going to play the opposition, that we're going to play ourselves. We've had 6 days, thanks to the quirks of the fixture list and Palace doing well in the FA Cup, that our Palace game was brought forward a few days. So it's given us 6 days. He gave the players a couple of days off after the Palace game, 3 or 4 days prep for this game. And I think that, I'm not saying that means we're going to win it, but if we lose it, it'll be because PSG have played a better game of football than us. And that's fine.
And they are capable of that.
Yeah, and I can live with that. I don't want you to be messaging the group after 10 minutes saying we'll miss these chances. And I
be though.
Yeah. I don't want you to be messaging the group at the end of the game.
He scheduled it.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, saying
after 30 seconds.
More points dropped because we couldn't defend a lead. And
despite
it's the best
not having scored.
It's the best. Yeah, it's the best. Yeah, exactly. So the other thing that's come up this week in the talk about, and I think Ian Wright I heard say this, and he's a bag of nerves, as you can imagine already, and he's bouncing around on the whatever podcast it was that I saw him on. It was clipped, and he brought to my attention that the Champions League final. Sorry, I'm going there. Not literally. Well, I will literally go there as well if we get there. But the Champions League final is at Bayern Munich, and this is the 5th time the Champions League final has been hosted at Bayern Munich, and the previous 4 times have all been won by teams winning their first European Cup / Champions League.
No way.
Yes. So the 4 teams who are left Arsenal and PSG are the two teams who have never won it. So the winner of this game is going to win the Champions League because it is at Bayern Munich Stadium. Now, I obviously couldn't just receive that information and not look for an angle on it. I've written down the 4 previous winners who won it there as their debut Champions League.
Well,
I'll give you the years.
Chelsea's the one I know. Yeah,
Chelsea 2012. Yeah. Okay, we'll go from most recent to most historic. So Chelsea in 2012. The year before that, there was 1997. German team.
Dortmund.
Yes, Dortmund.
Paul Lambert, former Norwich manager, was in that team.
I have a vague memory of it. I know they lost the Champions League final to Bayern Munich or Real Madrid at one point.
That was at
recently
Wembley.
Than that, yeah.
Recently, yeah.
1993. French
Ajax.
team.
Oh,
French team.
or Auxerre. No, who?
On the south coast.
Marseille.
Yeah,
So,
and then before that, 1979.
What's Forest?
Yes, well done,
wow.
Forest.
Gosh.
So it's a real mad kind of quirk.
That is.
This is the 5th time the Champions League final is being held in Bayern Munich, and the previous 4 winners were all first-time winners. So it's us or PSG.
Doesn't make me feel any better.
No, but what would, Chris? What would?
Nothing really.
A nice cup of tea.
I've got a nice cup of tea. I'm interested to know about the feeling of the fans going to this game. I mean, I would hope the team are buoyed by their, as we've said many times, beating Real Madrid, that the team will take that confidence in. But in a similar way, when the season before last, we were so exciting and we were all on a high, and there didn't seem to be the same kind of nerves because we were just carried along on this kind of crest of joy. And then the season after, there was an expectation, and we started sort of folding our arms a little bit as a kind of fan base. And come on, what's coming next? There was a tiny bit of that tension and anticipation, and I just worry that the atmosphere won't be as.
Oh,
do you know what I mean?
Well, I do, but I think,
and I hope I'm wrong.
I think the reverse is true.
I think there'll be even more buoyed.
Yes, I think we're on the up. There's a crescendo. It's building. That nobody expected us to beat Real Madrid.
Yeah, in the Champions League, definitely.
I'm just talking about the Champions League. Yes, absolutely. What you've said about the league is completely right, accurate. And this season's been a really anticlimactic one for a kind of plethora of reasons. However, in the Champions League, it's building. It's like that first season where we were caught on that crest of the wave, the Bournemouth turnaround, things like that. You're thinking, this is,
I hope so.
This could be we didn't need to score a winner in the Bernabeu, but Martinelli's absolute dogged determination to sprint on and get his goal in the Bernabeu to win the game in the 90 plus whatever it was minute. We're already 4-1 up. We're already qualified. We're already through, and that's the not the Bournemouth moment, but Steph, you were at that game, weren't you?
He was.
What was that was that the best moment when Martinelli hit the back of the net with that goal? Was that the kind of the climax of that game? Was that the peak moment?
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
So, right,
because they got this thing that there obviously came a point sort of late on when you realised that Madrid weren't going to get the goals required to even send it to sort of extra time. So everyone was kind of just happy and swaying.
So why was that moment such a passionate one?
Because I don't know. It was
it's because it's the Bournemouth. It's that Bournemouth game. It's because it's like we're onto something here.
Yeah.
This is written. This is meant to be. Drawing in Madrid isn't good enough for us. As in, we're not satisfied with that. Let's kind of. I think we've said before. Let's put the pressure on their throat. Let's step down on their throat. Let's kill them. They're vulnerable. Let's put them out of their misery, and we did. And that moment was a big release. And it must have been. It was the one moment watching on telly that I thought, I wish I was in the ground for that moment, because do you remember that moment? That's like the moment that in 20 years' time we'll be thinking back on, especially should we win it.
And especially, when you think of the Champions League results that we've had this year, 5-1 away at Sporting, 7-1 away at PSV. Okay, they're not Real Madrid, but we beat Real Madrid 2-1 away. We beat them 3-0 at home. There is something of that league season a couple of years ago somehow transferred into the Champions League.
Yeah,
and
that's what I think. Yeah,
bring it on. I think it's going to be vociferous. It's going to have that same feeling as Real Madrid did, and I think
it would be plus. I think it would be more
because it's the semi-final and because we're so close and everyone's
and because
just
we
so
believe.
excited. And maybe because we believe.
We are the under. We are the. I haven't looked at the odds. I'm assuming PSG are favourites over the two legs.
No, I think we are, because I think some bookies have us favourites to win the whole thing. But the problem with bookies is obviously, if sudden bets flood the market, all of a sudden that person's favourite allocation becomes a little bit more pronounced. But
I wonder what the odds are in France for PSG.
Oh yeah, well exactly. I think you could look at all or both semi-finals, and they are
not call them.
You can't really call them. You can absolutely see PSG swarming us a little bit and taking those lots of chances that they create. Similarly, you can see us standing up to it and then getting our goal and then frustrating them and beating them. And you can see basically the same, but with Inter and Barca. Barca have the attacking prowess that PSG do on our side, and Inter have conceded the fewest goals in the Champions League this season. So it's...
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got the toughest tie. I think PSG are the more complete of the three other teams, defensively and in attack. I know they're not perfect defensively, and as you've just mentioned, they're 3-1 down, or they've lost 3-1.
They have lost 3-1. There were 8 minutes of injury time. So that was interesting.
Good.
So
they'll be more tired.
Paris Saint-Germain have lost for the first time at home this season.
Now, of course, they've lost
at home.
They
lost at
home.
In the league at all.
In the league at all. That's
yeah, right.
And they have lost in the Champions League. They lost at Ablaze 2-0. And our team on that day was Raya in goal, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, and Calafiori was at left back. So we were kind of pontificating over what options Arteta had to replace the suspended Partey in the first game. And if Calafiori had been available for the Palace game, I genuinely think he might well have been tempted to play him from the start against PSG and put Miles Lewis-Skelly into the middle. But let's have a look at the team. So, go on, Stef.
Well, I was going to say, because I put a call out for some messages from people beforehand. So maybe before we get into the usual things of team selections and stuff, we can just hear one or two of those. So this harkens back a bit to the Palace game, but Watsy, friend of mine, hello John, he's been in touch. He says, how concerned were you by the defensive performance against Palace? And this is probably more relevant now we're talking about the game ahead. Do you trust the available back four enough to get back on the horse for our biggest game in years? Chris, what do you think?
Our available back four?
So that would be...
not Gabriel.
I.e. not Gabriel.
Yeah, the back four that played against Palace, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think they can up their game again? Because, Saliba looked a little bit shaky. Lewis-Skelly...
Raya.
I don't think lightning strikes twice, and I'm touching wood here, but I think that last Saliba brain fart will have shocked him to the core in terms of come on, this can't happen again.
We said that against Madrid, and it happened against Palace.
Yeah, but that I think were very two different contexts.
There were very similar mistakes, though.
His focus was just not there at all in the Palace game.
Drop him.
Two things on that. One, I half jokingly again tweeted out, which some people didn't understand, that I said all of this was part of mind games to lull PSG into a false sense of security, so they think that we're not as good as we think we are. Also, pictures doing the rounds today of people, again, I don't know how verified they are, but apparently William Saliba has had a new gym installed in his house, which is signs that he's going to sign a new contract and extend his stay at Arsenal, obviously.
There are very concrete murmurings that Saka has agreed an extension, he'll be the highest paid player at Arsenal, which is fine. That's
give him what he wants, guys.
Absolutely, you spread you'd to replace him, you'd have to spend 120, 130 million on a player to match his numbers. You're talking about a Haaland or a Salah to surpass a fit Saka playing every game this season is posting ridiculous numbers.
It's not even just the player, is it? It's everything else around him, what he represents.
And he signs, others will follow.
Mm-hmm.
They want to play with the best players, and he is the best player. And also attracting big players to the club. Is Saka going to be there? Has Saka signed? We had that under the Invincibles with players coming in. It was like, is Henry, is Vieira, are they going to be there? Is Bergkamp going to be there? It's like, yes. Oh, well, I'm coming then, because who would not want to? They will make me a much better player than I am. That kind of thing. Like Sesko, he's going to score a lot more goals if he's in a team with Saka on one side and
whoever.
I say Martinelli, but he did another no head up when he could have squared it for Saka to tap into the thing. So I thought he'd got rid of that, but he just, again, lulling them in, Steph, as you say. Any more shout outs?
Yeah, the only other one I picked out was from Ars Venger's on Blue Sky. Everyone can find us at Northbank Pod on all our socials, but Ars Venger's is often in touch. And they say, hey guys, the media and pundits have written us off at every turn this season, but now all of a sudden we simply have to win the Champions League. Can someone please try to explain this to my confused brain?
Well, it's a bit like the Madrid. Everyone's saying Madrid are the world beat, is the best team. You're going to get beasted. We turn them over, and all of a sudden Madrid are crap. Like it. Listen, let's enjoy it. Let's enjoy it.
As George Graham said, everyone hates us.
We're living rent free inside everyone's heads.
They're all talking about us. They can't ignore us. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Well, we're relevant again, and they hate it, and they hate that, So let Ars Wenger, let them tie themselves up in knots. We'll just sit back and smile smugly as we win. I don't want to say it. I was like, win.
You're calling the dog. You're shouting the dog. Win.
Yes,
win.
I was. He's just,
here, boy.
Well, good recovery. Thank you very much. Are we on to team selections then?
Let's do it.
I mean, okay. Chris, go on.
I think it's going to be the same for everyone, isn't it?
Probably.
Shall we do them one at a time or something? Just to make it interesting.
You pick your goalkeeper.
I'll do the defence, and then you do the midfield, Steph, and then Holly can do the attack. Because I'm sure it's going to be exactly the same. So Raya in goal, Lewis Skelly left back, Kivior left centre back with Saliba partnering him, and Timber right back. Midfield.
No, I agree. Sorry.
Yeah, midfield.
Yeah, of course you agree.
Midfield for me, Odegaard, Rice, and Marino, because Partey's suspended.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Hey.
Okay.
Front line, Holly.
I do the front line then.
Yeah.
So, Waneri, Sterling, and what?
Butler Adeji.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, PSG wouldn't be expecting it.
Yeah.
See
how you cope with that. Yeah.
Nobody expects the Sterling Inquisition. Wow.
Yeah, geez.
Obviously, Saka, Trossard and Martinelli are my front
three. Wow. What a shot.
Let's see if we share a similar train of thought for our score prediction. Chris?
I'm going to go all Steph on us, I'm afraid. It's 1-1.
Oh, no,
I mean, that's your usual, isn't it? 1-1?
You think you're doing a Steph. You are not doing a Steph. I'm Steph. Let me do a Steph. We're going to lose 2-1.
Oh, for fuck's sake. And I don't care if that means you've got to put explicit on the fucking video now. You fucking idiot. Losing the game, you absolute plum. I've got us winning 2-1, and I had put originally down 2-0, and then I just thought, no, I break the habit of
PSG create a lot of
score
chances, score a lot of goals.
I just think we'll score. This is us. This is our season. This is our time. It's been a long time coming, and just the way we've set up for the big games this season, I trust Arteta and to have the team in the right headspace, and I trust the team to actually deliver on the pitch. Rice is playing the best football of his career. he will absolutely be the dominant force in that game. I think we'll win 2-1, and I also think we'll win the away leg because of the dynamics of the context of that. I just don't want to see any more Panenka penalties from Saka. That's my only wish. So that's where I'm at.
Where do you think the game's won in terms of midfield? I mean, yeah.
Well, I just think our best player will play better than their best players. Who is there? They're a better team. They don't have the Mbappe, Dembele. And look, I'll be honest, and I'm saying this before the game, and perhaps I shouldn't, but Dembele always frustrates me. I'm always surprised, but he gets such a big write-up and a big. But his numbers this second half of the season are fantastic. But even when he's playing for France, I struggle to get it with him. For me, they're danger man, and the player that I've just loved watching every time I've seen him when he was at Napoli is what does he call him?
Kvaratskhelia.
Kvaratskhelia. Yeah. I just think he's
great.
He's a dreamy player. I've loved him at Arsenal. Loved him at Arsenal.
Desiree Doué, their young winger, is just. He's going to be brilliant as well.
Yeah, but he might not even start.
No, he has dovetailed with a couple of other players. Barcola comes in as well. He's really good. I've heard
people who know a lot more about PSG than I do. I know very little. Saying that Barcola will probably it's 50-50 as to which one of those two will start and then be replaced. So it's again their team.
Yeah.
Is
Vitinha in midfield makes them tick. He's great.
Is it João Neves, the guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a very, very tidy footballer. But I just think. I'm really annoyed with Partey for his yellow card because that dynamic was so powerful in that middle. Now, having said that, Marino has been brilliant and increasingly brilliant, and so that kind of softens the blow of not having Partey. And in the second leg, we will have, and it's only a red card puts someone out of the final, isn't that right? It's no, so yellow cards. Who do we have? Who's on a yellow card, or has it? No, it's all gone to zero, hasn't it? Sorry, yeah, it's all been scratched after the quarterfinal, so no one's on a yellow card. So even two yellows, a yellow in this game and a yellow in the second game, doesn't disqualify you from the final. Is that right?
It would have been Rice, wouldn't it? Because Rice would have missed this game had that penalty stood.
Timber as well was on it.
Yeah, we had three, I think, kind of.
But I think the physicality is the key. I really do. I think that we beasted them, and I know it was a different team, but you look at them and we still are dominant physically. And I just think with Marino, Rice, particularly in midfield, with Lewis Skelly coming inside, he's a beast as well. I just think we are gonna beast them in midfield. That's what I'm hoping, and I prefer a sort of staccato game rather than a sort of frantic flowing game. I think that's where again we will play to our advantage. More set pieces, more. It sounds like a kind of more cynical approach, but I do think that's where we are much better than them. I don't want us to go toe to toe in a kind of tippy tappy because I think we didn't
against Madrid. I know the first few minutes were a little bit open. We made a couple of little defensive errors. However, we kind of.
You mean at the Bernabeu?
No, I'm on about the first
leg.
The first game, Kivior gave the ball away. Saka gave the ball away.
Yeah.
They had a couple of.
That was
chances.
Just nerves, wasn't it?
Yes, but we kind of didn't go gung ho, and we kept it tight.
Yeah,
and
so the game plan was more.
And there was that moment for me, like about 35 minutes in. I said this before, where it was almost palpable. You could see it that Madrid players, as a unit, suddenly realised that hang on a minute, Arsenal are a lot better than we thought they were. And Arsenal players at the same time thought, this lot aren't as good as we thought they were. And that was it. From that moment on, 35, 36, whatever it was, that moment on, it's looking back, you could see that. I didn't notice it at the time. I wasn't feeling it, sitting back and relaxing now. It's like, oh crap, we'll rue these missed chances. That's all I kept thinking. So again, I have that confidence in Arteta and his staff to set the team out, and the confidence in the team to play the game, to play that game that they're set out to do. They eulogise even Rice after the away win in the Bernabeu. He referenced Arteta's instructions, and he kind of said what an incredible tactician and mind and manager he is, and they have absolute trust in everything Arteta tells them to do. and so that's why I've got for a win.
Good.
For those of you not watching, I'm shaking my head in disappointment at Steph.
Okay. But I'll be there. The only one of us that will be there, losing my voice, screaming my head off, cheering on the
The other
team.
thing I was going to mention was that thing of where Marino dropping into midfield, when we're losing him up front. But look how well he played in like the through balls, the assists that he's had in recent games. The one that he put through for, I think he assisted both goals for in the Bernabeu, didn't he?
He got 2 assists in the Bernabeu, yeah,
so
both assists.
If you can carry that form in from a deeper position, from that left 8 and Ødegaard on the other side, then there's no reason why.
Are we worried that he wasn't even in the squad against Palace?
I'm sure he's just been, it's
rested.
Precautionary. Yeah.
And I'm much happier that it's the home game he's, Partey suspended for.
Oh, yeah, God, yeah.
Because I think that'll make a big difference out there.
Well, putting Marino back up front. And,
yes, and because Marino, his natural game is to drop into midfield, and he's really he's excelled at this. I don't know, what would you call it? A hybrid role of attack and dropping back into midfield. Like he is doing everything Havertz was doing.
I was going to say, was that? Do you think when we bought Havertz, that was the kind of what he had in mind?
And that's why he
Mikel
bought Marino as well.
If he didn't work, I'll try another one.
Yeah, and again, it's that left 8. It's he seems very wedded to the idea that left 8 has to be a goal threat.
It's a unicorn position, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a funny one
for him.
And that's what Rice is becoming.
Yeah, and the slight concern is that the Rice role is slightly different because of those because of and I don't know, Steph, if you've seen it, I'm sure you have since, but when Rice got the yellow card, when Partey got the yellow card, Rice went mental at him, like proper.
Yeah.
What have you done?
Because it was so unnecessary.
Yeah.
And Danny Ceballos. Ugh.
Well, Rudiger was there, and you can't ever blame anyone really for wanting to have a pop at Rudiger. It was him. I mean, how he stayed on the pitch, like if you watched his assaults in isolation cumulatively, he should have had a red card, like long before the final whistle went. Okay, I've got nothing else. Steph, you said you had a quiz, so I'll let you and Chris do a.
Nice for both of you. It's a little, guess the players who featured game. I'm going to do it like a penalty shootout, so you're going to take it in turns. So in 1994, on our way to win the European Cup Winners' Cup, we played PSG and beat PSG over 2 legs. We played them at home first and drew 1-1. No, sorry, we played them away first and drew 1-1, and then we beat them 1-0 at home. Okay, so your job is to name anyone that played that night. You'll take
Kevin
it in
Campbell.
turns. When you whoa. That's a yellow card for going too early, right there. Thank you very much.
It's normally delaying tactics.
Hold on then. So you'll take it in turns, and basically, like a penalty shootout, if one person misses and doesn't get it and the other one gets it, they're the winner. So on that, Chris, would you like to go first?
I'm going to play safe and say David Seaman.
Okay, yep, good, well done.
Okay,
Holly?
Kevin Campbell,
who actually scored the winner.
That's what I thought your question was going to be. That's why I got in there first.
I want to know who played, right?
Because on Mastermind, you're allowed to say, give your answer quickly.
Tony
Chris?
Adams.
That's what I'm used to.
Tony Adams. Yep, absolutely. Captain. The Arsenal team is really easy.
Dixon.
Yep. Chris.
Winterburn.
Yep. Holly?
See, you never know who the second centre half is.
No, I'm not.
You do. You do.
Because they used to rotate, didn't they? Between Keown and Bold.
Right. You get one bye because Keown was on the bench and came on as a sub. Okay.
So he actually did play.
He did play, yeah, but came on as a sub. So, Holly, you get a second bite of the cherry.
Go on, Holly.
Oh, I've got to go again.
Yeah, because you got one of the subs.
Um,
You can name PSG players, by the way.
Alan Smith.
Alan Smith, yep. Part of a front three with Kevin Campbell, who's already been named. Chris.
God. 94.
I've got one. I've got one more.
The cup team. Cup winners cup winning team. We beat Parma in the final.
Yeah, I know we did.
That was
But
attritional.
we had players like Ian Selly playing, didn't we?
Is that your answer?
Yeah.
Ian Selly is right in the midfield. I loved Ian Selly. He's so synonymous with this shirt as well. Holly, over to you.
I'm now worried. I want to say Paul Merson.
Paul Merson is not right. He's not even in the squad. I think he was injured.
Was he? But he was in the team, like as in he.
Well,
was
around that
playing
time.
then.
Oh, yeah, of course.
okay.
Yeah, but
Right,
wasn't
okay.
there. So, Chris, well done. You went first, so you got that round, and then Holly didn't get it, so you got it. Do you want to know the rest of the team?
Yeah.
Paul Davis and John Jensen in midfield with
Johnny
Ian Selly.
Jensen. I'd never would have picked Paul Davis.
No.
I thought he'd long retired.
I thought
Yeah.
he was a bit later than that, but yeah, it was there. Ian Wright. Now, why is Ian Wright significant in that game? Do you remember anything that particularly
He
happened
got
with him?
sent off and then he couldn't play the final.
Booked. I think he was booked. That meant he missed the final because it was before this rule was brought in where they wipe them. Yeah, absolutely. I would say, do you want to know the Paris Saint-Germain team? But I only know two of them at all.
Arteta.
Pardon?
Arteta.
No, he was there way later.
was
than
about
that,
12.
94. I do remember the keeper Bernard Lamar.
Yeah.
Vaguely. remember that
Didn't he
name.
become a singer?
It's one for the kids. And then the other one is apparently the sole striker that night was David Ginola. I don't remember that at all. Yeah, and the other names, I don't know, Alain Roche, Ricardo Gomez, Patrick Colleter, Jean-Luc Sassus, Paul Le Guen, Laurent Fournier, Vincent Guerin, Ray, and then Valdo. So, yeah, David Ginola was the only one. And he's down as the only forward.
I'd love to think that there's a PSG podcast and they're doing the reverse quiz.
And they're going,
Ian
who's
Selly?
Ian Selly?
And they're going, who is this Ian Selly? And then they'll be saying, we lost 3-1, but it doesn't matter. So like they'll be
It's
dismissing,
irrelevant.
It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. We're just lulling them into a false sense of security. Yeah. Anyway, bonsoir.
Allez le bleu.
Whatever. Yeah.
Are we done?
I think
Done.
so. I think so.
Okay. I'm taking a kind of Pyrrhic victory there because I went first and I got it right. I want this to go to VAR.
Is it?
Well, how about have a tie break? Can you name the other Arsenal sub?
Andy Linnigan.
What position? And we can both have a go.
Midfield.
Eddie McGoldrick.
Midfield. No.
Eddie McGoldrick.
He came later.
Michael Thomas.
No, he'd gone to Liverpool by
Kevin Richardson.
then.
Long gone.
David Hillier.
Hillier.
Yeah. Who's messaged the show before. We did our 1,000 Goals podcast and messaged
did.
about his love of the, I think it was the Wilshere goal he went for. Apologies if I've got that wrong, David, and you're still listening. by any chance.
Just on Wilshere.
Yes.
In 2 weeks' time, not in 2 weeks' time, but in 8 days' time, Cardiff play Norwich
On the last day of the
managed
season.
Yeah, and Cardiff will absolutely need a win. Teams managed by Jack Wilshere and Aaron Ramsey. How to make you feel like a granddad? Jesus.
And we're led by Arteta. Like that team from,
Yeah.
those years ago.
And-
Not
and-
so
and-
many years ago.
Also, just on the subject of Jack, last night was his fundraiser for the British Heart Foundation. That I can say it now, but my missus works for British Heart Foundation. She arranged it with Jack, and it was pulling in all the Arsenal present and past for a golf game up the road, and all the proceeds, they did an auction to the British Heart Foundation, and it raised over 100 grand.
Wow. Were you there?
Unfortunately
Chris?
not. No, I didn't manage to blag my way in there.
What's your handicap?
Not being able to play golf is my handicap. That's the reason
I set
why
it
I
up
didn't
for you,
go.
Chris.
And I knocked
set
it
it
out of
up.
the park,
Come
didn't I?
on.
Yeah, thank you. But I probably would have gone along and pretended I had a shoulder injury or something and just gone on the putting green or whatever. But I'm just hopeless.
The fact that you know what a putting green is, I'm impressed by. So don't you know?
But it was a great event, and so well done, lads.
Hear, hear.
Brilliant. Right, okay. I've got no rousing speech or anything like that, but I gave my little rousing speech in reaction to your prediction that we'd lose, Steph. I think we'll win. Anyway, listen, good chat. That's past a nice hour, 1 hour closer to kick-off. Nice Arsenal-free weekend. We can get on with our lives outside of football for a few days before focusing on the semi-final. And thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the next few days and catch up with us on the other side of the 2-1 Arsenal victory against PSG. Cheerio.
See ya.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
The North Bank, an Arsenal podcast. Subscribe, rate and review on your app, and find us on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok at North Bank Pod. Email hello@thenorthbankafc.com and check out our website, thenorthbankafc.com. Produced by The Podcast Company.